Let's take a short trip to the creepiest museums with strange artifacts kept on display in places all over the world. From the creepy Parasite Museum in Tokyo to museums of legend, we count 15 of the creepiest museums in the world. The Cushing Center at Yale University, Connecticut. This Connecticut museum may not sound like much, but it houses jars upon jars of human body parts. If you're curious about the oddities of genetic anomalies, this is the place for you. The museum features preserved fetuses, hybrid animals like a snake with a rat's head, brains in jars, vintage medical photographs, journals, books, and much more. The London Dungeon, England. Think modern torture is horrific? You're not wrong. Waterboarding is terrifying, but the London Dungeon will give you a glimpse into just how brutal torture was during medieval times. A top tourist destination, it's known for leaving many visitors clutching their chests and wiping away tears by the end. Gore Psychiatric Museum, Missouri. St. Joseph, Missouri is perhaps the only place that would turn psychiatric history into a tourist attraction. Yet we commend them for their intriguing collection of tools, uniforms, electroshock equipment, and hospital artifacts dating back over 130 years. While the items themselves may not seem horrifying, the eerie atmosphere is palpable. Expect to see artwork by schizophrenic patients, and even nails pulled from a patient's stomach. To add to the creepiness, there are mannequins staged around the exhibits, amplifying the unsettling vibe. Museum of Witchcraft and Magic, UK. Located in Cornwall, UK, this museum could only exist in England. The Museum of Witchcraft and Magic. And no, it's not the Museum of Witchcraft and Wizardry, much to the disappointment of Harry Potter fans. The items here, however, are far more chilling than anything in the J.K. Rowling universe. Think glass spirit bottles, skulls, witches' charms, and Halloween-themed exhibits. For an extra thrill, visit at night and see if these artifacts come alive. No promises, though. Museum of Osteology, Oklahoma. This Oklahoma museum might seem like a medical facility, and in a way it is. It's actually a skeleton museum featuring around 300 skeletons of humans, primates, reptiles, and birds. While intended to educate, it primarily serves to terrify. It's definitely a place to visit in broad daylight, and with lots of friends, because it can feel like a deleted scene from Jumanji. The Mummies of Guanajuato, Mexico. This museum showcases mummies from the cholera outbreak of the 1830s. About 30 years later, after families refused to pay for permanent burials, the bodies were exhumed, some mummified naturally due to the climate. Initially, the bodies were just stored, but when tourists began to show interest, a museum was born. Now, 111 mummies, adults and children, are on display, offering a chilling, up-close experience. It's easily one of the creepiest museums you'll find. The Voodoo Museum, Louisiana. In New Orleans, Louisiana, you'll encounter real fear. Known as black magic, voodoo is said to curse others, control them, or even make them ill. For those fascinated by the dark arts, this museum offers a collection of tools and items used in voodoo rituals. From snakeskins to lizard tails, it makes you wonder if these practices really work. The Museum of Death, Los Angeles. The Museum of Death, located in sunny Los Angeles, is anything but bright. This museum reveals the darkest aspects of human nature, featuring crime scene photos, torture devices crafted by serial killers, coffins, and even suicide notes. If you've ever wondered what goes on in the mind of a murderer or wanted a peek at some of history's most shocking events, this is your place. It's a chilling experience, to say the least. The Vent Haven Museum, Kentucky. The Kentucky Museum has gathered the most terrifying dolls in one place, and not the kind you rocked to sleep as a child. These are ventriloquist dummies. The same dummies that might have given you nightmares if you ever read Night of the Living Dummy as a kid. What makes them so unsettling is how eerily lifelike they appear. When you step into a room filled with these figures, it's hard not to imagine one of them suddenly springing to life. And there aren't just a handful of these dummies. The museum boasts a collection of over 900, some of which have even made appearances in horror films. While the museum isn't specifically designed to be scary, true ventriloquism fans see it differently. It's clear that most visitors come for the undeniable creep factor. The Parasite Museum in Tokyo, Japan. Tokyo has certainly decided to push the envelope with the Parasite Museum, possibly the most stomach-turning tourist attraction ever. With 450,000 parasites on display, it's not for the faint of heart. the Star exhibit, a specimen over 28 feet, 8.5 meters long, the largest parasite ever recorded. Just looking at these creatures might make you lose your appetite. The Museum of Medieval Torture Instruments in Amsterdam, Netherlands. If you're in Amsterdam, a visit to the Museum of Medieval Torture Instruments, often referred to as the Torture Museum, is a must for those intrigued by Europe's darkest history. Here you'll find a chilling collection of devices like decapitation swords, inquisition chairs, and other gruesome artifacts used for torture and execution. The museum also explores the disturbing reality of modern torture practices, which might leave you feeling even more unsettled. Jack the Ripper Museum in London, England. Jack the Ripper, the infamous serial killer who prowled the dark streets and alleys of London, comes to life at the Jack the Ripper Museum. Here you can delve deeper into his chilling story by taking a Jack the Ripper walk, tracing his steps through recreated crime scenes and experiencing the perspective of his victims. The museum also offers a glimpse into the past with old newspaper accounts of the murders, original autopsy photos, and other haunting artifacts. It's a truly spine-tingling experience. The Museum of Vampires and Legendary Creatures in Paris, France. The Museum of Vampires and Legendary Creatures, founded by Jacques Sergent, a scholar of vampires, esotericism, and Western folklore, offers a chilling glimpse into the dark side of Parisian history. The museum explores the eerie tales of Paris, including cemeteries where vampiric rituals were once performed, as well as the mysteries of cannibal sorcery and medieval Christian hierarchies. With its collection of rare books, artifacts, and unsettling art, it's a place sure to give you the creeps. The Mutter Museum in Philadelphia. The Mutter Museum claims you'll leave disturbingly informed after a visit, and it's hard to disagree with that promise. As a museum dedicated to medical history, the Mutter Museum aims to help visitors understand the mysteries and beauty of the human body. It houses one of the world's most remarkable collections of medical curiosities, antique medical instruments, and anatomical and pathological specimens. Among the unusual exhibits you'll find at the Mutter Museum are a jar of preserved human skin, which supposedly smells like Romano cheese, sections of human faces, and amputated feet from a patient with diabetes. It's also creepy as shit. And last but not least, the Clown Hall of Fame and Research Center in Baraboo, Wisconsin. If you're afraid of clowns, this museum might be your worst nightmare, unless you enjoy a bit of self-inflicted fear. The Clown Hall of Fame and Research Center is devoted to the tales of America's most famous clowns, capturing both their playful and unsettling sides. So, have you ever visited any of these creepiest museums? Do you know of any other strange, scary, or just plain odd museums we can visit? Do us a favor and let us know in the comments.